Hey folks, welcome back to another video of the Flutter Development course brought to you by Newton School. My name is Harsh Kumar Khatri and I am currently working as a Flutter developer at Hope, Sweden, and I have been an ex-intern at Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and I have also been an ex-Flutter developer intern at a firm named AppScript. I am also an educator and instructor on Udemy and Edionics, where my primary goal is to work on Flutter development courses and teach Flutter to people, and those courses have more than 40,000 plus enrollments already, so you can check them out as well. Talking about what Newton School is, so basically Newton School is a platform that helps you to learn and develop the skills that you need for your best tech career. There are courses specifically designed for freshers, working professionals, and for women with no prior experience in tech. Newton School first trains you for 6 months and helps you become a full stack developer. It is also having a network of more than 300 great companies who hire directly from Newton School. So once the training is complete, Newton School also ensures that you are placed with one of the best companies in the country. There is also a pay after placement program where you don't have to pay anything to Newton School until you are placed with a minimum CTC of 5 lakh rupees per annum. They are also having another amazing initiative known as Launchpad, where you are provided with some of the courses for free of the cost, and you can work on those courses and practice the code on the editor which is present on their platform, and you will also be getting a certificate of completion after completing those courses, which you will be getting for totally for free. And now coming towards what will be covered in this particular video. So in this video, we are going to work on an app which will be having an API. So we won't be developing an API. We have a pre-built API which is available, providing us with some demo data. So we'll be using that API to fetch the data, and we'll be displaying that data inside our application. Now let me tell you a brief about why you would need this particular thing in your apps as well. So whenever people are working in an industry, they don't have hard-coded data which is available inside their smartphones or in the app which they are developing. So they basically have APIs which will be sending the data, and you can directly change the data which is present, which is being sent through the API, and you can update that data inside your app totally without any interaction or without changing any code. So that is the reason why many people prefer API, and we'll also be seeing how we can develop an app which will be fetching a data and display the details to the user. So let me switch the screen quickly and let's start working on the app. So herein you can see that I have opened the app and have run the app which we have created in the previous video. So basically in the previous video we have worked on creating an app which will be acting as a login screen for your user, and it will be having only a single screen which will be acting as a login screen, and therein we have used the text field and the form implementation which I have taught you, and through that the screen which we have created, we have tried to mimic the implementation of the login screen, like adding some validations and checking if the username is equal to a particular username and a password is equals to a particular password, and on the basis of that providing access to the user. So we have implemented that in the previous video. So if you haven't checked that out, then make sure to go through it once. Now coming towards the today's video, so you must be thinking what an API is. So basically API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it acts as a communicator, or what we can say a liaison or a glue between two of the apps which are running. So it acts as a communication device through which two of the apps connect with each other or communicate with each other. So you must be thinking, why do these apps need to connect with each other or communicate with each other? So the reason why they need to do this is because they need to share some data between each other, or they need to access some storage, or add images, upload images, delete images, update anything which is there in the database, or access any of the data which is there in the database for the user to be displayed with. So that is why we use APIs. From here in image, you can see over here that we are having a backend systems where we have stored all the data, all the images and other stuff which we are having inside our app, and it could be like data related to the app, it could be data related to the user or stuff like that. And after that we are having this API over here, to which I'll be coming in after this, explaining these first. And herein you can see that we are having an API management system which is basically used for managing the API, through which we will be making the triggering calls, or through which we'll have deployed the API, or through which we have created the API. So there are some of the management systems available through which you can create the API as well. And herein you can see that we are having the apps, the devices, IoT devices or mobile. So the apps could be the web apps where you are needing some data, IoT devices where you want to trigger an API and perform a particular function, or mobile devices as we are going to use in our this video. So Now coming towards what this API part is. So basically this API part will be there, which will be acting as a glue between all of these, like this particular part of the image and this backend system. So it will be acting as a glue and will be providing the needed data or the needed information from the backend system to the apps, mobiles and IoT devices through the API management system, and that data which the API is providing as a result will be displayed to the user or could be displayed to the user depending upon what that data is and what is the need of that data. Now let me explain you this with an example. So for example, you are going to buy vegetables. So the farmer is someone who is growing the vegetable and is then selling the vegetable to a retailer or wholesaler, whatever it is. So he is selling the vegetable to those, and then the wholesaler or retailer is selling the vegetable to the vendors, and you are buying the vegetables from the vendors. You are not directly buying the vegetables from the farmer. So herein the vendors and the retailers, wholesalers will be acting as an API which are getting the needed things which you are needing for in our case it is vegetable. So they'll be getting that needed thing and they are providing that with you. So this could be also an example of an API, just that you are not making any calls or stuff, but yeah, it could be an example of an API. Now coming towards why we need and how we will be using the API in our Flutter project. So basically for accessing the data from the database or like implementing or performing various different functions, we need an API, and we'll be adding that. One more thing, like for adding the API, we need to make the HTTP calls. For that we need to add the HTTP package. So I'll be going on Google, we'll be typing HTTP Flutter, and we'll be copying the code under the dependency installing, and coming back to this pubspec.yaml file and deleting all of these and pasting it over here, hitting Ctrl S, so that flutter pubget command is running in the background and the packages are fetched. And until then, as we don't need these particular things, so let me delete these as well. I can't see an arrow popping over here. There it is. So selecting all of these and deleting it, and we need to create a stateful we need to create a stateful widget for us. So STF and API implementation, and replacing this my custom form to API implementation as well. Now we need to create two functions over here, not two functions to be specific. We need to create a function and a class as well. The function will be basically for fetching the data through the API, and then we'll be assigning that data into the class by providing the data to the appropriate variables which we will be having inside those class. So let me create those as well. So at first I'll be creating a function which will be having the return type of future. So future, and it will be having the data type of album. So the class we'll be creating would be of name album, and we'll be using that as a data type. The name of the function would be fetch album. It will be an async function as we'll be performing the API call, so there are chances of the data to take some time to be fetched. So that's why we need to make it as async, and HTTP calls could be performed in that manner only. Naming it as response, adding an await, and HTTP dot get, and herein we need to pass URI. So URI dot parse, and herein we can pass the URL. So I'll be copying the URL which is present there in the Flutter example, adding it as a string, semicolon over here. So we haven't imported the HTTP part yet, so let me import that as well. So import HTTP dot as HTTP. Now once we have got the response, we'll be checking if response dot status code, which would be the code which will be provided to us if the API call has been made. So it could be 200, 400 or stuff like that. So we'll be checking if the status code is equals to 200. and if this is so, then we'll be returning album, and this album will be having from JSON, which will be used for converting the data which we are getting from this API into a JSON format, and we'll be decoding the data through the JSON decode which we are having. And the data which we'll be getting would be in response.body, as the body part will be storing all the data which the user is getting. So we'll be decoding that data from the like output from the response whatever we are getting. And if this is not the case, then we'll be raising an exception over here, like throwing an exception, and inside it we can pass failed to load data. Now we need to create the album class. So class album, and inside this we need to create some variables. So final int user ID and adding a question mark. I guess, yeah, the final values could not be like null, so we'll be adding a constructor for the same, final int ID and final string title, which would be the title which we'll be getting. So now adding a constructor. So adding a constructor for the final fields, and we need to make these required. So adding this required and adding it over here as well. Now adding required for the ID and the title. And after this we need to create the from JSON function. So adding the factory keyword, and it will be having album dot from JSON, and herein we'll be passing the map string and dynamic, which would be the data type of the data whatever we are getting from the output of the response. So response.body would be in the form of a string and dynamic, and the name of this would be JSON. And through this we'll be returning an album only. So return album, and this album will be having the user ID which we have created to be of a value JSON, and we'll be getting the user ID from it. And apart from that, this we are having two more variables. So ID would be JSON ID, and the string title which we have created would be equal to JSON title. So this would be the album function, and the from JSON which we have created inside it. So this is what we have created. Now let's create the body part of the API implementation which we have over here. So at first inside this, replacing this with a scaffold and adding an app bar, which will be having an app bar, and herein passing the title which will be equal to text API implementation, and scaffold needs to have 2F over here. And after this title, after this app bar, adding the body widget as well. So we'll be adding the body as a center, which will be having a future builder as a child. So basically we are using this future builder over here because we'll be getting the data after a delay, and we want to update that data on a dynamic basis. So that's why we are using a future builder over here. We could also have used the set state thing, like once we have got the data and updated the variables, then we can use the set state the variables to like display the data to the user whatever we have got. But herein using a future builder would be a best thing, or like stream builders are also there when we are having some streams of data. So all those things will be covered in the upcoming videos, so you don't need to worry about it. Now for the builder of this future builder, it takes a context and a snapshot, and we'll be first checking if the snapshot is having some data. So snapshot that has data. If this is so, then we'll be doing this particular thing, like we'll be returning text from here, like returning a text widget, return text, and here in for the text we can pass snapshot dot data, and this should not be equals to null, and title from here in. We are still getting an error over here, which is occurring over here. Let me hover over it. Yeah, so we have returned this inside if statement. Let me first fix this error. So I'll be returning a circular progress indicator in case nothing has been loaded and there is no data present, or we are not having anything to return. Now after this if condition, I am adding an else if over here, and inside this we'll be checking if the snapshot has an error. So has error. In this particular case we'll be returning a text widget which will be displaying the error to the user. So snapshot dot error. So whatever the error we are getting, we'll be displaying that to the user as well. And if these both conditions are not true, like the snapshot is not having the data or snapshot is not displaying the error, until then we can display a circular progress indicator to the user such that he feels that the data is being loaded from the API and will be displayed with the API shortly. So we can use a circular progress indicator therein. Now let me, and I have two app bars over here. Let me remove the first one. So here it is, the form implementation one. And you must be thinking like we are having a scaffold over here and then I have used the scaffold. So you can do that too, but like you can like directly do this thing as well, adding a app bar over here and replacing this, like cutting out this center part, deleting this complete scaffold and pasting this center part over here. You can also do this thing, and you can also work with the thing like I showed you previously where I have added the scaffold for that as well. But it is like recommended to use this method which I have just shown you, like adding a center and not using double scaffold. Now I'll be hot restarting this. So sometime it may take a bit longer for you to hot restart, and there are also chances that it won't be showing you anything until the hot restart is taking place. So you don't need to worry about it. You can just stop the app and you can start the app from scratch, and I guess therein it will be working for you. For me it is still showing me nothing, like the circular progress indicator is displaying. So let us just print the response whatever we are getting. So printing the response dot body and hot restarting it once again. So we have forgot to add the fetch album inside this future builder. So let me add that as well. I totally forgot about that. And for the future of this future builder, it will be taking the fetch album which we have added above. And I guess I need to add these as well. Yeah, now it works. So herein you can see that we are displayed with the data what the user has got. Let me just hot restart it once again and show you this thing completely. So hot restart completed. Now at first we were displayed with a circular progress indicator, and later on when the result was changed from this album.from JSON and it was returned once we have got the status code to be 200, so it was returned and inside this future builder through this future, and therein we are displayed with the output, like we have added that if the snapshot is having data, then we should be displayed with the title for it. And you can see that the user ID is 1, the ID is 1, and the data is this something in some other language, I'm not sure what it is. We can also change the final output, like herein we are accessing the data for 1, we need the data for 5, so saving it, and you can see over here that it has displayed as the data for the ID 5, the user ID is still 1, the ID is 5, and the title over here has changed, and herein also inside the app the title has changed. So this is how you can use API inside your Flutter applications, and how you can integrate the API inside your Flutter applications. And this was it for this particular video. To sum up, I have covered about the API thing, how you can like add your APIs and how you can get your APIs. Now to be telling you about how I create my API, so basically I use AWS API Gateway and Lambda functions for first creating the function in Python and then deploying that function with the help of the API Gateway. So I use that. If you need a video on that, then you can comment that down below. I'll be more than happy to provide a video with the same. And if you got to learn something new from this video, then make sure to drop a like. That really motivates me. Comment down below what you have learned and what you want to see in the upcoming videos. Share the video with the people in your community and people who want to learn Flutter and are looking for appropriate resources. And subscribe to the channel to get all the latest updates related to videos being posted on a regular basis. I would really be happy if you subscribe to the channel as well. And this was it for this particular video. I'll be seeing you in the next one.